My name is Jeff Vandegrift. I'm the QA manager at Perceptive Software, and we have a new role that we're hiring to that is a little unusual. And so we want to take a moment to explain a little bit about what that role is. The title is Software Engineer Test. Typical software engineer hears the word test and they think, well, that's not really what I do. I'm an engineer. But let me explain a little bit about how we arrived at that place. We adopted a new methodology a couple years ago, Scrum. It's an Agile methodology. And that demands that the code be able to be refactored regularly. When you're doing manual testing, you have scripts that you have to work through, and when you're refactoring code, that means you have to go through every single one of those scripts. And that means that testing can't keep pace with development. So Agile at the time decided, okay, we need to automate. And the way you immediately do that is you try to reproduce what the end user tester is doing. So there's a lot of record and playback technology, but that proved to be ineffective. So the place we're at now, the Googles and the Microsofts of the world have arrived here. We need engineers that can step into this role so that problems that weren't anticipated by the automation software, the engineers can just go and write that code and make it work. It's typical for your typical commercial software developer to be working in one swath of the product rather than the entire product. And so you get very familiar with your area and the technologies in that area, but not across the entire product. So one of the cool things that you get to do as a software engineer and test is you're working with all the technologies encompassed in the product and then the entire product itself, which is very exciting. And on top of that, you're getting to work with open source. A lot of commercial software developers can't use open source tools because they encumber the licenses of the product. So when you're writing internal tools for use, you get to use those open source products. And we're really pushing the boundaries on some of those open source tools. And in fact, to the point where we're kind of at a place where we could contribute back to the open source community. Now, how cool is that? So many developers on their own time, they work in open source and contribute to the open source community, but how about getting paid to do that? So one of the things that software developers typically like is difficult problems, and they don't generally associate testing with difficult problems. But when you've got a system such as Perceptive Software's flagship product ImageNow, that is millions of lines of code, native code, C#, Java, runs on multiple platforms, and when you've got it up and running in an enterprise, it's multiple processes communicating across multiple nodes in the enterprise. That's a complex problem, and you want to try to bring that thing up and then in a repeatable fashion exercise that product positively, negatively to ensure its functionality. So you know, we're kind of in a new area here, and we're sort of pushing the frontier, and it's an exciting time to be at Perceptive when we can kind of be pushing the boundaries of that frontier. And so we're looking for people that are excited to come in and help us reinvent what it means to be testing. And besides that, it's just a really cool place to work, but that's probably a topic for another conversation.